So welcome everyone and a very good evening to all of you. Thank you for joining us today in the first of our three-part series of webinars as part of the Women Leadership Forum of Asia. I'm Dr. Sujaya Banerjee and I'm the founder of the Learning and OD Roundtable, and as part of our interventions as the LNOD Roundtable, we created the Women Leadership Forum of Asia to be able to support organizations with their diversity and inclusion initiatives and the energy around particularly equality and respect and inclusion. Can you help me with my slides? Move forward, please. I'll tell you a bit more about the Women Leadership Forum of Asia. While it's called the Women Leadership Forum of Asia, I must say that the focus of most organizations' agendas around diversity have been around gender, and so we started by being able to support organizations around this. But it eventually evolved, and it's now existing for over 6 years. We have 11,800 members, both men and women, supporting this movement. And this year, all the work for the Women Leadership Forum of Asia is being delivered under the aegis of Men as Diversity Partners. So I'm really delighted that over the last few months, we've had lots more men join us on this intervention, because the name of the forum being Women Leadership Forum of Asia can be sometimes a misnomer. So this is to clarify to everyone who's in the audience and who'd like to be part of this movement called the Women Leadership Forum of Asia. Please come in on board, both men and women. We need everyone to come together and help us shape the society. The WLFA has 4 credos: conviction, courage, competence, and commitment, which is to be able to help organizations and, as microcosms of society, to be able to create equal cultures of equality and respect for both men and women and all kinds of diversities. So I'm delighted that over a period of time, you can move forward, Sunil. Over a period of time, we've actually evolved into an inclusion forum, and really our focus is to be able to create the right kind of mindsets and skill sets to enable organizations to create environments where people can come in and learn and contribute and grow and manifest their potential inside organizations. We exist out of 4 cities: Mumbai, Pune, Delhi, and Hyderabad. I must say we've been traditionally more active out of Mumbai and Hyderabad. Recently, more activity around Pune, and we must have our forum more activated out of Delhi. The virtual formats now is going to make it far more easier to integrate our chapters from across India. So I'm going to urge all those who've joined us in today on this important dialogue that you reach out to Prudel or you reach out to Shreya and try and join us and join this movement called the Women Leadership Forum of Asia. Move forward, please. We've done some work with ISB, which is part of the reason why we got some momentum for the work that we do around Hyderabad. So I do know that many people from Hyderabad have joined in today, because we have done some great work together with you and with members, of the Women Empowerment and Women Research Wing of the Indian School of Business. Move forward. The Learning and OD Roundtable is the aegis under which we've created the Women Leadership Forum of Asia. So this conversation is incomplete without calling out the names of our governing council members. So please move forward. These are our governing council members. They're the wing below our wings. These are the people who are pretty much the guiding light that enable this forum to contribute and do the kind of outstanding work it has been doing since the lockdown. I'm delighted to let you know that we have the HR Response Action Committee, which actually is a group of experts that are offering pro bono services. We've already done this for 58 plus organizations, many large size, medium size, small size organizations. We've also tied up to be able to offer a workplace productivity tool called Zippy, which we've offered to the community. We join hands with KPMG to carry out the Cutting Through the Crisis HR Best Practices Survey with them, and the report was released recently to all the members. We're en route to be able to create a learning resource center, which we'll announce shortly. So I recommend strongly that you join this movement as a member. The memberships are extremely well priced. They're much lesser than what a nice meal will cost you. And you have a plethora of opportunities to access learning events, including all the programs offered through the Academy. Now all virtual programs happen to offer through the Academy and now available to all the geographies, all our chapters at the same time. Can you move forward, please? So the enhancing inclusion quotient, move forward. The plethora of programs that we have, which we offer to people from the government, non-government, social workers, female and male entrepreneurs who are part of this organization. We invite SME organizations, academicians, students, and other forums, associations, and bodies to join us in being able to create a better world. So I think with that, I should let you get to know the rest about our academy activities and the programs that the academy offers. We partake on supporting very many organizations with their diversity and inclusion interventions. We have a large battery of professionals who work around this. And if you're a member, you can get access to a lot of these facilities at a fraction of the price. So with that, that's your membership structure. Most organizations, I urge you to join in as corporate members, so that a large number of people have access to the offerings of the Women Leadership Forum of Asia. And especially because we still find this to be a nascent journey inside most organizations, I'm going to urge those of you who want to look at building cultures that are diverse and inclusive. And I can't think of any other kind of culture that you really like to build around yourself, especially at these very trying, very compelling, very unprecedented times, where it's exceedingly important that you include everyone. You include people in the moment, you include people who are the best suited to generate solutions. You include people so that they can manifest their potential through this crisis. These are such incredible times to look at diversity and inclusion through a more serious lens. So with that, welcome everyone one more time. Thank you for joining us here today. Sunith, can you move forward, please? So we have a series of webinars that we're planning through what is today. And for those of you who don't know, today is the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development. And I'm really delighted that we're using the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development to indeed have a useful diversity-related dialogue for development here today. So these are the 3 series of webinars planned, and make sure that you register for them. We start with the one today, and I'm delighted that so many of you have been interested to be able to join into this conversation. Just before I dive into introducing this incredible set of panelists that I have here with me today, some ground rules, just to let you know that your mics and your cameras have been sort of muted or blocked, and that's been done in the interest of being able to ensure that we have a great conversation here today. Do activate the chat box on your right and continue to post your views, your opinions, and your questions. I'm going to repeat that: views, opinions, and questions as you go along. We want to make this a vibrant learning event. We want everyone to be able to participate together. And we want everyone to know what you're thinking as we talk about various issues during the course of this conversation. I'm really delighted to have here with me today one of our governing council members and a very prominent member of the HR community. I cannot say enough about Prince, because not only is he extremely knowledgeable, very energetic, very much the light inside Mahindra, the organization that he works for. We don't need these profiles, just stay with the first sheet. We've got Dr. Prince Augustine. He's the Executive Vice President, Group Human Capital and Leadership Development at Mahindra and Mahindra. And we're really excited to be able to have you on board today, Prince. Thank you for joining us. Next, I'm delighted to welcome Aman Lal, Chief People Officer, KFC Yum Brands. Aman's not only doing incredible work inside his organization, he's also a very strong believer, advocate, and practitioner around the whole space of gender empowerment and inclusion. So I'm sure, Aman's going to have some incredible stories and insights to share with us here today. Aman, thank you for coming in on board and agreeing to speak on this panel. Gauri Padmanabhan is a partner at Heidrick & Struggles. We've known Gauri for several years, and I must say that as a veteran search professional, executive search professional, I've always been amazed at the wisdom that Gauri brings on our LNOD Roundtable leadership group. She's always adding tremendous value. I know she's extremely well regarded and admired within the community, and has a very special place in her heart for all issues, diversity and inclusion, especially those to do with gender empowerment and gender equality. So Great to have you on board, Gauri. Thank you for agreeing to come on through this panel today. Next is Kaushik Chakravarti, and Kaushik is the head of human resources of Savills. Kaushik again is a powerhouse of knowledge and wisdom. He's a very sought after speaker and has a body of great work that he's done. And I'm hoping he makes his debut with us today on our webinar. So Kaushik, we're delighted to have you on board. Thank you for being here today. And last but not the least, we've got Namita Shah. She's the co-founder of Presolve 360. Namita is a very incredible young lady. She has a very outstanding educational background and has also been, the winner at our Millennial Startup Awards last year when we did the Millennial Max Conference. Presolve 360 is a speedy arbitration platform. And what this group of young lawyers, all millennials, have really done is done some incredible work to help people solve family disputes, to be able to solve all kinds of legal challenges and work through the legal machinery to get speedy responses and justice to lots of people. So these are young people who are shaping the world, and Namita is right at the vanguard of it. And Namita, I'm delighted that you agreed to join this conversation here today. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming this very, very incredible panel. Sunit, can we go to the gallery mode so that I'm able to see each one of them and direct the questions to people who are on board here with us today. So I'm going to start right at the start, which is, we're all in the middle of a very, very extraordinary situation. Nothing in any of our lifetimes would have prepared us for this. We now have a new paradigm of what it means to be in a situation of emergency, crisis. There are a huge amount of business considerations in terms of mobilizing large groups of people to work from home. We've seen incredible number of challenges around the business itself in terms of, customers taking flight, broken down supply chains, the migrant laborers taking flight, huge cash flow challenges that organizations are finding themselves in a bind with. Within 2 weeks of this crisis in the lockdown, we saw organizations already announcing reduction of headcount. And while there are a large number of organizations that have decided to work their way around this crisis by holding on to their talent, which is at least hold on to the ones we have, the rest have not wasted time in being able to reduce headcount, reduce cost, and the lowest hanging fruit seem to be people. Now, in the midst of this, I mean, having now that we're in a more calmer space as compared to the initial reactions that we saw as compared to responses, we're now seeing organizations relook at, with a new lens, the whole space of work from home. And with no vaccines in sight, this is going to be here to stay for much longer than we imagined, because even as we look at recovery and resurgence, we're not going to have all our employees back for a very, very long time. So in the midst of this, work from home appears to be the new norm. This is incredibly difficult to do, and I dare say that many people have discovered how difficult it is to provide, to be the primary caregiver for women who are at home and those who also work from home. So incredible learning curves everyone's gone up during these times. Those who do not have help have learned how to contribute to chores, have understood how difficult it is to be able to do all of this, which we take for granted. And all the women who had this incredibly in their way in terms of careers, because they couldn't be given the kind of flexibilities they were looking at. They were what was in the way of qualified women, because I do know that we have the returning programs and don't have very high levels of success stories. So you still have large number of qualified women who have not had an opportunity to be able to come back. Now with the work from home scenario, suddenly it becomes an equal playing field with everyone working from home. Practically everyone working from home. And I do know that essential services and the rest, a few have gotten back, and few of the industries are looking to open up. ITES is looking to open up next week. Having said all of this, we still have an incredible situation where all the flexibilities we could not provide women can actually be now provided to them because everyone's working from home. So I want to be able to get a few reactions from the floor. Yeah, do you see this as an opportunity? There seems to be a greater number of jobs that are being posted for women. So Jobs for Her is the most prominent platform that normally talks around this. But Gauri, you're in the search space. So first, give us a perspective. Do you think that even for the companies that have consolidated their headcount and are looking to be able to hire a few people, is this in their consideration set? Are they really looking to be able to bring back women? And I'm really reacting to a lot of newspaper pieces that talked about that this is now an equal playing field for women. Are you indeed seeing that at ground level? Are more organizations saying, where are the women? Let's try and bring them on board now.
Absolutely, Sujaya. Look, when I look at it and what I'm hearing from organizations that we work with very closely, diversity is becoming an increasing need of the hour. Organizations are really looking at how do they sort of become more inclusive. They're looking at, bringing in new perspectives. And they find that bringing in women now, especially with this opportunity where everyone is working remotely, has made it a lot easier for them. So if we were to be looking at really diversity indexes that existed pre-COVID and what will be indexes that will exist post-COVID, my sense is it will go up very significantly in the next 18 to 24 months. And that is because essentially organizations will be able to tap into talent that they did not have the opportunity to do so till this time.
Right. And you're saying that you are seeing an interest in wanting to hire more women.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to try and take a few inputs from the HR heads. What are their views around this? Aman, do you want to come in at this stage to be able to tell us what is your view? Is this an opportunity? Our organizations, is your organization, for instance, looking to be able to use this time to be able to now in a space where everyone's working from home and will perhaps continue working from home for some time more? Is this a chance? Is this an opportunity that we've been looking for? I do know organizations, some of them have been committed to doing this even before COVID-19, but I'm just wondering whether we have a greater impetus now. Because, one of the things that I must say, even before I give you a chance to respond, is that there's definitely more optics around this issue than real action at ground level. So, I have male colleagues who've often told me, what is the deal here? What are we talking about? Is there a problem with women having an opportunity? Because I go to check in, I go to a restaurant and the service providers are women. When I walk in to check in at an airline counter, the ground staff is all women. I go inside an airline and the service staff are women. Where is the challenge? Because the optics around this, especially for people in certain socioeconomic levels, the optics around where you're likely to go and what you're likely to see can be increasingly misleading as compared to the real numbers of inclusion at the ground level. I'm even talking about representation. Forget whether or not they experience inclusion. So I want your reaction on that. Do you see this as an opportunity?
Dr. Sujaya, I certainly feel that this is a great opportunity, and I also feel that different employers are going to respond very differently to this. Smart employers that are mature will respond very differently to the employers that are going through a business challenges at this stage. Smart employers, mature employers are going to look at it as a great opportunity. I can give you an example. While we've got some great diversity at a corporate level, over the last 4 odd years, we've hired 43% of women at the corporate. But at the store level, while at a certain level, whether it is team member or the first time manager kind of role, we've got great diversity. But beyond that, it fizzles down. So it is up to us to look at it as an opportunity. And where that supply gap was there till today, unfortunately, with some of the way the situation has panned out, where there are job losses, there are pay cuts, there is availability, there is supply side. And it is up to the employer to look at that supply side and say, look, there is great talent available. And this is the time for me to see that talent in the organization because the organization needs it at this stage.
Right. Great point. I'm going to turn this over to Prince. Prince, what do you see happening in this space? Is there any, I know you're a great advocate of D&I within Mahindra. So tell us what it is that you see happening at ground level. Is there a greater interest now in looking at women talent pools? And I know I'm asking in the same breath, and I kind of allude to Aman's point that, you know, people have consolidated, they produce people. So it depends on where it is that you're poised. But there certainly is a larger supply now. So is there a thought around this at all? Is anyone talking about this? Are you seeing this happen around?
So if you ask me, I don't think we required a COVID to say that we have got to improve our gender ratio. But there has been a bias that existed, especially in manufacturing organizations, you know, or old age organizations, that working from home is not a very easy thing. And there were a lot of disciplines of working from home, which people, they thought would not follow, you know. So that myth has been busted, right? And therefore, if you look at it, the entry-level jobs have got a very good gender diversity ratio. But as you grow up, it starts falling. Right? There are several reasons for it, you know. So probably women look for flexibility, right? And industry was not possible, was not in a position to provide that flexibility. So now there is an opportunity with flexibility coming in. So probably there is a level playing field, right? Now, will it happen? Will it not happen? Is a matter of viewpoint. But what I've seen generally is that every organization that I interact with, there is a focus for inducting women talent into the organization. There are a lot of policies that are put in place. In fact, we have a policy that for every candidate that we look for, we must have 50% women. So we have an equal opportunity policy. Everything being equal, we give preference to a woman candidate, right? So therefore, that sensitivity has gone in. And we have put series of programs. We have got a women leadership program, which actually helps to build women leaders. The question that came up was, why do you want, women leaders asked us, why do you want to have a program like this? You know, you should give everybody an equal opportunity. So that, but the program is no different from that of women, you know, right? So in fact, I read a book called Humans Are Underrated, right? In that he says that one of the key capabilities of the future is emotional connect and emotional capability. Women by their very nature have better emotional capabilities. I'm not, it's not a bias, but you know, because of their tender nature, because they bring up a child, etc., the emotional empathy and emotional sympathy and emotional connect that they bring in, right, probably are better edged to that, you know, right? So therefore, I see a lot of opportunities. I see a lot of future, and WFH myth having been busted, they probably, organizations will probably start looking at women as, again, another big source of talent pool into the organization.
Right. Thanks for saying that. On another day, I would argue some of the pieces on women and their associations with being more emotional, but I'm going to, or being emotionally capable to connect more emotionally with people. I think we're living in times where we need to be able to look at both these communal behaviors and agentic behaviors in both. And I think that what has also happened with the work from home is that suddenly everyone understands what it means to give care. You know, everyone understand what it means to be able to run a home. I think these are incredible times for everyone to be able to learn this. So we'll come to that another time, but we're now focused on being able to look at the female talent. So I'm going to go over to you, Kaushik. You know, I think a lot of organizations are looking at turning permanent jobs or full-time jobs into gig jobs, you know, part-time jobs or gig jobs. Is this what is going to propel opportunities for women? Is it because of the part-time jobs? What do you think about A, the opportunities for women, and B, is this more in the gig part or the part-time part that we're looking at women, or are we looking at returning women in full-time jobs?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, there has been different policies around gradual return to work. Return is, you know, there's two initiatives around. Return is, you know, women who have left their career midway. You know, different kind of programs to run in various organizations. I've been part of many such programs. But you know, what I personally feel is this COVID times, I think the biggest shift it has created is many of these things were good to talk pointers. You know, if you have a D&I policy, you need to do X, Y, Z thing. If you are doing something special where you are, you know, allowing a woman to work from home for a longish period of time, and there has been some success story, that is to go as a case study, you know, for MNC in the in the international DNI magazine that is to get published. But was there a shift in, the thought process? I think, what is going to happen is today, with most men working out of home, they see what exactly are the challenges of a woman, working from home, as well as, taking care of their day-to-day execution, work execution that they had. And for that, one of the things that really, recently, and many of you might have seen, there is this Amul doodle which is coming in around all-rounders. I think it's very symbolic that what men are realizing is what all-rounders every and how difficult it is to live that all-rounders life. And when you, when you have this flexibility around a woman working from home or reduced work hours or any such special, it's not, it's not easy to live that life. And I think there will be a lot of embracement of, allowing women and, having policies around that. Because come what may, whatever we say, especially in India, Indian companies work from home, otherwise also was something which was not really there in practice. MNCs, it was there it was always there in the policies, but when it comes to the work structure, in India, it was never really implemented the way it has to be. I think, there is a huge shift that is going to happen in all of it. And there will be policies around it. There will be clear work around it, and people understand that it's important to use the the current scenario to attract women for the right kind of jobs.
Right. Good point. I'm going to at this time turn over to Namita, and I do know that Namita, you're not from the human resources profession, but you give us a fresh outside-in perspective. How do you see these issues? I mean, you can start right at the start with the bias itself that women who need to provide primary care may not be able to take care of work. And more often than not, these are decisions they have made themselves that they can't juggle both, or there's too much travel involved, or there is too much time involved in getting to the workplace. So it's too cumbersome to raise kids and home and do that. So it could well be both-sided. I mean, it's as much an inhibition employers have had in the past, and as much individuals, and I have experienced talent myself, who don't want to take the stress of having to do both. So give me a perspective on this, and how do you see the current scenario?
Sure. So I would like to first begin with how an ideal world would look like. There are men, there are women, 50%, 50%. And when everything is equal, both would get equal opportunities in an office environment. But what happened over time is that women were kind of identified to take care of household stuff. By that, I mean including children, cooking, everything. And men went out to offices. Now, all of this until this lockdown translated into less than 24% of women actually working in the workforce in India. Now, what has happened is that this lockdown, and especially the duration of it, which is almost 2 months now in India, has given like a reset button, so to say, for women to start working from home and for men to work at home. So now there has been a lot of, role exchange, so to say, to again try and bring back that balance, where even men are contributing to household stuff and women now have an opportunity to actually look at contributing to a work environment. And I think to get that feeling, it's very, very important. What happens is, when you talk about any change, any revolution or any movement, so to say, it first begins in the mind. And this is a great time for both men and women to go back and actually reflect, for men to understand that women have so many more things to do and to equally contribute to them, and for women to realize that just because of the things they have to do at home doesn't mean they can't look at the internet of a way to start working again. So in fact, this is a beautiful time for women also to first understand for their own selves that this is a great time to get back into the workforce, to stop playing the victim card, so to say. I know everyone will oppose me on this statement, but that's the first thing that every woman needs to do, that now, okay, this is your chance to fight for that equal opportunity that you waited for so long. To tell the men in your house that, you know what, you also have to do these things so that I can do something else. And that's what this entire time has given. And especially towards the younger generation, I think even the males are kind of understanding this, that women also are equally, if not better, at multitasking and at leadership roles. That's there is a science behind the saying that if you educate a man, you educate one person. But if you educate a woman, you educate an entire household. Now, that same woman can definitely add so much value in any organization as well. So having a woman's perspective also in organizations is so important, because Otherwise, you're only catering to 50% of the world audience.
Right, very good. I mean, I love your points, and I think you've kind of brought forth some very relevant pieces. I'm going to request all the panelists to keep your cameras on. We are on a gallery mode so that everybody can see all the panelists, as we speak. I'm going to move forward to the next question, which is, I'm going to quote the jobs for her to be able to talk about the kind of jobs that have gone up in terms of posting. And so the jobs posted have gone up by 30%. So jobs for her say. And it appears that most of these jobs are in the content development, content writing, PR, digital marketing jobs. Many of these are part-time jobs as well. So I'm just trying to figure that what is the motivation to be able to bring these people back? These are not very prominent jobs, and none of them seem to be really leadership jobs. So are we still kind of looking at, because I think it's not just about getting women on board, but at what levels are we getting people on board? So a lot of organizations have numbers, but they don't have women at the right levels within the organization. What I mean by that is the leakage in the pipeline as they come in at junior levels and don't stay on enough to be able to take on senior positions. And the other one being that we also don't laterally bring enough women at various levels within the organization. So even the jobs that seem to have gone up, there is an increase, but all of them seem to be the kind you can do from home, the kind you can do part-time. I'm very intrigued with it that none of them seem to be executive or managerial jobs or people manager jobs. And while this is a very prominent site where women look for jobs, so I'm just trying to figure, do you think that even this surge is again going to be something that allows women to work in a safe zone? Is this an opportunity to induct them into leadership roles? Because that's where the returnee challenge really is, that they want to come back to jobs that they left off or to careers that they left off. And there is, notwithstanding the optics we have around returnee programs, because we run the forum, we know an incredibly large number of people who say they don't get selected finally when they go through these processes. And invariably, when they find out, they come to know that the job either got left open or got given to a male internally, or there was always this kind of a discomfort to be able to integrate women at leadership levels. So I want a bit of a reaction on that, which is this an opportunity to be able to bring in women, not just to do these kind of jobs, but to be able to bring them into something more significant within the organization? And I'm open to anyone who wants to start off with what is the inhibition challenge with being able to integrate women at levels which are other than back-end kind of jobs or jobs that can easily get done from home. These almost seem to be shaped to not requiring to come to an office and doing something in the back end, almost appear like support jobs or support services that you would provide within the organization, nothing prominent. And I'm just wondering whether the movement will ever go forward if for so long as we use women to do what I call office housework. And by office housework, I really mean it's not uncommon to have women organizing the coffee or women organizing the notes, taking down the minutes and doing something secretarial as compared to really leading people within the organization. And I know there are people who are doing that. It's just too few and far between. So I want a bit of a reaction to this, which is these jobs still seem to be content writer, digital marketing, those kind of jobs. Any reactions at all to why nothing more prominent, or is it because organizations are not hiring yet in a very significant way?
So yeah, I don't know whether this is the right moment to really say whether women hiring has gone up. No, because more than 90% of the organizations are locked down in the country, right? And what jobs you will see are jobs that can operate out of home and that are absolutely essential to make things happen, right? And in the last 1.5 years, I don't think there have been much growth from an economic point of view and also from an organization point of view. But I definitely see in the next 2 to 3 years, things shifting. That is when opportunity would arise, Now, women leaders would get, provided within the organization, they have a pecking order, right?
Yes.
And because when many organizations today look for growth from within, right? It's only 20% of the jobs that go out, right?
Yeah.
If you go out for 20% of the jobs, probably what problem the organization is facing is already there in the ecosystem. Therefore, this country as a whole, right? There is a concerted effort to build pipeline of women leaders, right? Getting women en masse into senior leadership positions should probably be a challenge.
Right, right. No, I hear you. I mean, this has come on the back of a slowdown. So for many sectors or for many industries, it will be difficult to look at hiring anyone, leave aside women. Gauri, what is your take on this? Because I responded to you. I mean, I shared with you the jobs for her site. What is your response? You're in the search space. What is your sense on? Is there still a reluctance to bring in women?
So, Sujaya, I would look at it a little differently. I think the crisis has sort of allowed organizations to hit a pause and sort of look at how they're going to be thinking about the future. So to the point that Namita made, there is a reset not only at a personal level, there's a reset even at a professional level that organizations are going through. And post this, as we sort of move into whatever that new normal will be, we will find that there will be an ask that is very different of leaders. And I think at that point of time, when you sort of assess people for leadership roles, you will find that there is very clearly a preference for women leaders who will sort of be able to problem solve, come up with creative solutions, work with very diverse teams, because I think work from home is going to continue for the next 12 months at the very minimum.
Yes.
And therefore, the ability to sort of connect with people virtually and to sort of make it a meaningful engagement comes a lot easier for some of these women.
Right.
I also think that they think a little more creatively. They are problem solvers. And when you look at the way they have sort of built out careers, they very clearly are multitaskers.
Right.
So, I think some of this will throw up opportunities going forward for women. And
Right.
the places that we see that these opportunities would move from really commercial leadership roles to, general counsel roles
Right.
in organizations. You are increasingly seeing the number of finance professionals leading up into, really senior, significant leadership roles within their organizations. And then there is this entire space that has been, commandeered by women for a very long time, which is the marketing, creative thinking space for products and organizations. I think that's going to grow even larger. So I do believe that over the next 18 months, that index is going to see a shift, not only because there are going to be more women available, but because organizations are going to need to address their needs differently.
Right, right. And I'm delighted to hear your response, because you're kind of alluding to the point that, the pivot that organizations are going to have to make is to start finding different solutions to where they are. I mean, there's nothing to say there's a huge amount of talk around new positions or new jobs emerging at this time. And maybe a lot of those could be the ones that women could actually perform even as these kind of evolve. So great points there. And thank you for being able to articulate this so well. Kaushik, I'm going to take this over to you to be able to ask that in some of the articles that I went through on women returning to workplaces, and this being an opportunity, the whole COVID-19 crisis being an opportunity to bring back women, there was a fair amount of articulation around why women would be the preferred people to employ in a crisis. And one of the points that I saw repeatedly in various perspectives was around how organizations want to reduce costs at this time. And therefore, hiring women would be a good choice because they're available, unfortunately, at a lower cost. So I want your response to that. What's your sense? It's going to be a cost-saving activity. Is that going to be the incentive to bring women on board finally?
I doubt, HR anywhere will think in those lines. And if there's a thought around it, honestly, I'm not aware of. But I don't think that should be the thought process. Today, D&I is a big agenda for most organizations. As I said before, I think more than anything else, for certain kind of jobs, for certain leadership roles, there was a lack of flexibility in thinking. And today, this shift of workplace, in the sense is when you start from working from home, it will definitely create a shift in your thought process.
Right.
So, there were, for example, say, let's take an IT industry as an example, which is one of the largest, employers today in India. Now, if you see the numbers, there are many progressive, policies which is there around D&I, and there's a lot of flexibility in terms of, and I know there are friends, there are ex colleagues who have been working for years together from home in the IT industry. But the fact remains, it is a male-dominated industry. You won't find too many women even in the mid-sized leadership positions, and forget about in the senior leadership position. The reason being that the way you used to look, the prism with which is to look into somebody who is working from home is that you are not flexible enough to grow within the organization. So I think those are the areas where the shift is going to happen,
Right.
and that will actually probably allow you to employ women or attract women who are probably need to be working 50% or whatever it is. There will be those arrangements, and people will embrace those arrangements much more than what they were used to do earlier. I think that's going to be.
Right, right.
So,
I can
Jaya,
see, I can see a lot of points coming up here saying that a lot of the women posting saying that they have not experienced pay disparity. A lot of people coming up to say may not be true. That cannot be the reason why they're trying to bring in or would consider bringing back women. So we have huge disagreement on this. Some of them were really delighted I asked the question, but I have a fair number of people responding saying they haven't experienced the disparity themselves, which is good news, really, even if this is a small microcosm of the problem that we're actually looking at. Gauri, you had a point to make.
right. So, Jaya, I was just going to sort of agree with what Kaushik said. Look, I think if we were looking at cost arbitrage, it would be really, really short term.
Yeah.
For any company that's progressive and growth oriented and is really looking at the future, post-COVID, it's really going to be about thinking about how you are going to sort of address changing market situations and changing consumer needs. And
Right.
for that, I don't think using cost arbitrage, whether
Yes.
it is with a diversity candidate or not,
Yeah.
is really going to be the solve. It's really going to be getting the right solution. And
Right.
in that kind of context, my sense is women will be able to do a really good job in terms of really thinking about what the consumer requires and what the changing market situation needs.
Right. Right. Good points. Namita, do you want to give me a reaction to all that's going on at this time?
Yeah, I'll also talk from a startup perspective. We are very, very cost sensitive, so to say. And I think even larger organizations now have become very, very cost sensitive. Now, just imagine the situation where talent is available at 100 rupees and talent is available at 80. You're bound to choose a cheaper option for talent. So it is not that you're seeing gender in that. It is what you're seeing is talent and the price at which it's available. It's like just to lucidly compare it to probably buying a gadget. You'll buy where you get maximum discount. So I think that is something that can be played on as an advantage for women because it already exists. In India, women are paid 65% less for the same work as men. So we often look at this as, oh my God, because I'm a woman, I'm at a step behind. But because you're a woman, you probably have a higher chance of getting hired now than you ever had in the past. So everything that has been going against women so far is actually a great time to be looked at as an opportunity, as a strength. And what happens is even on leadership roles, what has happened so far is that women often feel that they have certain domestic duties. First of all, it's which primarily is raising a family, but that is equally the job of a man, not just a woman. And working from home has given that opportunity for women to understand that, okay, both the parents are going to raise the family, the child, so the woman can also do other things and pursue a career, a professional career. And whenever it comes to crisis, women deal with crisis practically on a daily basis. Right from, when you actually take a cab, you think about safety. When you reach workplace, you think about time. You think about what's happening back at home. You think about reaching back home on time. You're dealing with crisis on a minute-to-minute basis. And I think that's the perfect quality for a leader. So when you're already being trained in crisis management, of course, women have a great opportunity to lead. But having said that, there's also one aspect that, for example, I work with a male co-founder. I have 2 male co-founders and I'm the female. I cannot expect them to work more and me working less just because of my gender and then expect an equal share. So I know it works both ways. From my end, I also need to put in as much. I have to manage that. And from their end, they also need to put in as much if I'm fighting for equality. So it's a clap of 2 hands. Everything that's going against you, look at it as an advantage. Look at how you can capitalize it best. And, in fact, we just talk about employment. When it comes to entrepreneurship, less than 2% of women are actual entrepreneurs in India. A lot of forums where I go to also, they look at, oh my God, you're a woman entrepreneur. Like, it stands out. But why should it? It's as natural for any woman to also choose entrepreneurship. And I think this work from home or flexibility has given a mental boost more than anything else for women to come out of that whole cocoon of, oh my God, I'm restricted to being at home. So that way, this has helped.
So, I'm reading some very interesting chat comments as you were speaking, Navita, and I find it very interesting. So, I think that there's a purpose for which we invited someone who's not from our community. So this is for everyone who's in the audience. We're getting an outside-in perspective on the thing. It's a socio-cultural problem. It's not only something that pertains to organizations. All kinds of organizations experience this. And I think it's very interesting to have this very undiluted perspective on the issue. One of the points somebody raised, you have a lot of praise there. Lots of people agree with you, but you have some people asking, wouldn't you put competence as in the center of your decision making rather than the cost? And I think you kind of answered that much later.
I said talent being equal. Yes.
Yeah. So competence is right at the center, but you're saying you are going to keep one eye on the cost and not on the gender. So you're going to keep one eye on the cost as you go along. All things being equal, you'd like to get somebody.
The eyes are on talent and on cost. That's it. I mean, gender is not the criteria.
Yeah, but I think you made a very pertinent point on wanting equality, and equality means working as hard as the men. And I think that is a very pertinent point that you just made. We're heading towards the close of this discussion. I am going to take the questions that people have. And before I come to that, I want to do a quick round robins. If all five of you can have one message for any of the women out there. A lot of people logged in because they want to come back. They want to figure out. Give us a message for anyone who wants to use these opportunities to be able to come back to the workforce. Aman, can you go first to say something to the audience, especially the women who want to come back?
I think women at this stage have to be very clear what kind of career option they want to choose, whether it is full-time, part-time, flexible. They got to know very clearly what is the difference between part-time and maybe flexible, because flexibility is choosing a location, choosing your hours, but does not mean that your responsibilities would go down. So be clear on what you need. That's number one. That is something that I would suggest. Number two that I would suggest is prepare your environment, which means talk to your family, talk to the prospective employer or the prospective manager, and make sure that you make your own environment conducive when you land back in the job. So I think those two are the advices that I would give for the prospective women who want to come back. For employers, I would say very clearly, have a plan to integrate them in the organization, back in the organization, whether it is through training or through work programs, but have a plan. Just don't leave it to chance, because you have to give them confidence and you have to make them successful. And when you make them successful, you make the organization successful. So this is your chance to make the organization successful.
Thank you, Aman. That's great advice for women and to organizations. Prince, is there something you'd like to say to the women who want to come back to the workforce?
Yeah. So what I would say, tell them is that opportunities are galore, right? The biases are disappearing, and what they need to look, whether it is, it's not really women, it's also applicable for men, right? It is creative agility and what I call it, dynamic resilience, right? Because you don't know what will happen at the workplace. You don't know what will happen to worker and workplace. Everything will get disrupted. So be prepared to take on challenging roles. And as Aman had said, decide what you want to do, right? And be the best at that. For organizations, drive inclusivity, right? And probably in the short term, they will have to have a focused intervention to improve the gender equation within organizations.
Great stuff. Thank you, Prince, for that advice. Kaushik, your advice to women who want to come back and to organizations to integrate women talent.
I think, the gig economy is the future, and everybody knows about it. And gig economy is all about flexibility. What is important is anybody wants to return to work, value your own talent. Okay, and if you need flexibility, ask for it. In the current circumstances, there will be a lot of acceptance to it. And I think that is more important, that, that's the future. That's the world we are getting into. Everybody knows it. And you need to, ask for your flexibility, which is important, because you are taken in for the talent that you have, and, don't shortchange the talent. I think that's what I'd like to say.
Great stuff. Gauri, your advice or your last words for women in the audience who want to come back, and also to employers who may want to consider getting women back on board.
So Jaya, I would sort of, draw a parallel to the last time we went through a global crisis. And that was, if I were to think about it, World War II, when the world almost came to a standstill, and we saw suddenly a big shift, a big disruption in the way people thought about gender, thought about, work. And very many married women, for the very first time, entered the workforce. They entered at various levels within the workforce, but they very clearly were the precursors of women leaders today. So when I look at that, what I would think is, look, I think I would tell almost all women, don't be prisoners to a mindset. I think you have the capability to do whatever you do want to do, and to be able to bring in a focus and an agility to learn, and to really to be resilient, to sort of stay the whole, path of whatever you want to do is really critical to sort of being an achiever. So I don't think there are any quick fixes to it. But in this time of disruption, very clearly digital dexterity is going to be key. But I think about it more as a mindset game, and really being able to sort of conquer biases by sort of coming in with the confidence to say that you can achieve.
Great point. Great points. Thank you. That is so inspiring. Namita, you get to have the last word. Yeah. What do you want to say to women there who want to come back to work? And what do you want to say to employers who can use this opportunity to finally integrate more women talent?
Okay, so firstly, get the concept of diversity, inclusion, and equality here. Stop playing the victim card that I'm a woman, so I'm on a backseat. It's a brilliant time to be a woman in India wanting to enter the workforce, or wanting to enter entrepreneurship, or wanting to safeguard your job. Because, everything that's worked against us so far, like being less paid, is actually a strength now, because everyone wants to save costs. There are no women entrepreneurs in India. Great. There have been initiatives by the government that are supporting women entrepreneurs. I have been part of many. There are funds set up to give loans only to women entrepreneurs. There are funds set up to give loans to organizations that have over 75% of women hiring. So these are things to ponder upon, not only by women, but also organizations, on how they can capitalize on this very gender diversity and in fact make it the strength of every woman. So just go out there and explore, and there are enough and more setups to promote women. Just take the first step, and they are there to help you. So don't be scared about asking for help, or don't be scared about getting back out there. You're already there, and there is an ecosystem to help you. Research on them, and then you'll just sail through this period. So that's it.
Great stuff. Thank you. There's some incredible number of questions, and I'm just doing a time check with everyone. I'm hoping, that everyone's all right if we extend this conversation by about 5 minutes. So just wanted okay from everybody. Are you okay? We go about 5-7 minutes. Yeah. So I'm going to take up some of the questions. Yeah, I'm going to take up some of the questions here. in the current scenario, organizations are looking at reducing workforce or are increasing automation. There is now a war for there is now war for talent anymore. So how do you think talent, especially women, will get more avenues? So the first question is that people are looking to reduce costs, people are looking to be able to automate, they're reducing jobs. Is this the time where women can look at being able to get employed? That's the first question. So I don't know whoever in the panel wants to answer that. This is not addressed to a specific panelist.
Can I go for it,
Aman,
Dr. Sujaya?
yes, please do.
Yeah, I feel while it is difficult time, organizations have to look both outwards as well as inwards. And outwards, when I say it is difficult time and there will be pressures, all sorts of pressures, there will be lesser hiring, there will be automation. But at the same time, why do we really believe in diversity? I think Nimita alluded to that. Why do we, what is the need of diversity? If there are 49% of women in the country and 50% of men in the country, our products and as a consumer company, that we have to reflect the voice of consumers inside the organization. And how do we reflect that voice of consumer inside the organization is very, very important. And you have to literally look at your organization, dissect it, and say, this is the place I am reflecting the thoughts of the consumer, and this is the place I'm not able to reflect the thoughts of the consumer. And that's the place to build in diversity versus saying cost or no cost, because there will be organizations sooner or later will have opportunity.
Great point. Great point. Voice of customer can be a great, sort of basis of being able to identify which positions you want to be able to bring in women, which are likely to be most suitable to your business strategy, like he's saying, your business case for why you should have women on board. I'm going to move to the next one. There is, what are your thoughts on the career comeback programs for women? Is it going to be encouraged or otherwise considering COVID-19? So this is a question on the returnee programs now. That you think organizations are going to pull back on the returnee programs? Are they going to open up these returnee programs? There seems to be projects and assignments available for women, but are the returnee programs going to open up again? What's your own sense? Gauri, do you want to take this?
Sure. So I have mixed views on the returnee program, and I've seen some great initiatives from certain groups. But, at the end of the day, returnee programs are only effective if there is enough buy-in from both parties, the organization as well as the individual. And very often you've seen that, it hasn't worked extremely well. You haven't seen great careers being built out by women who are returning. I think to address that again, we're going to need to sort of think about how we bring back women into the workforce and the why they want to come back. That's going to be really critical in these times where you're going to need to be an enabler for your business to really be relevant. So is there relevance to you as an individual, the competence that you bring? And I think that's going to be the big ask of returnees as they come in, rather than being entitled to a job because you worked with the organization earlier.
Right. There's another question here, and it's from Uma Sankar Kandaswamy, and he's saying, please throw some light on the stress levels that women are undergoing at this point in time. What would be your advice to women in these times? I think there's a sense that there is more stress that women are experiencing through the lockdown. I'm not sure about that, so I'm going to park your question at this time. Whilst as a woman, I'm all for women empowerment, but the fact is that each one of us, men, women, are unique. The ultimate success lies in respecting the difference and leveraging from each other's strengths. This is a comment from Samriti, and that's a great comment. We agree with you. Are we okay with men being the custodians of gender diversity in our organizations? Ajay Venkatesh is asking this, that men are the custodians of gender diversity in the organization. His assumption is about 90% are normally men. So his question is, are we safe with them being the custodians of the gender diversity agenda within organizations? So I can see Aman smiling. Aman, do you want to?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful question, and I feel that it depends on the organization. The diversity agenda has to be balanced. For example, I'll just give you our example. We have, while I'm the CPO of the organization, but I get advice from some wonderful women who are there on the team, or cross-functional teams for that matter, to take the agenda forward. So
Right.
it is all about inclusivity. It is not about men or women, but it is about inclusive men or women leading the agenda.
Right, right. I think, good point. I'm going to try and, ask one more question and we'll try and bring this to a close. I think there's a question here from Samriti who says that another leading question is that what are we doing to educate men at the workplace to change their perspectives and to be open to equality, equal opportunity, not only in the office, but display the desired behaviors even at home? So another leading question is that what are we doing to educate men at the workplace to change their perspectives, to be open to equality and to equal opportunity? Should we direct this to Kaushik? Kaushik, do you want to talk about what are organizations doing to try and create more inclusive cultures where men treat women differently? If you want to respond to that.
Well, I think, to a very large extent, when you have a clear agenda and is visible, in terms of the conversation that's happening within an organization, there is definitely that shift happens. Today, if you, for example, in our kind of industry, if you're going for an RFP, for example, you want to pitch for a corporate account, if the days are gone when 5 men goes for a pitch, that you're never going to get that contract. That days are gone. So today, organizations understand. I know that's the extent to which it's important to have that agenda in place. Most of the RFPs that you fill up, any organization of repute will always ask you what exactly is your DNA, and this is for example a facility management services they want.
Right.
Want a service partner or any such kind of leasing partner or anything like that. So that's the extent to which there is awareness. Now, to what extent you create that awareness of equality in people's minds so that they carry it home. I think there is enough happening when organizations speak that language. There are enough workshops happening on unconscious bias in most organizations. People do get aware of what are the stereotypes that they never believed that is there within themselves. I think those shifts automatically happens, and the reflection not only happens in their workplace, but also at their home. I think it's a natural phenomena that that reflection is going to happen everywhere, wherever they are.
Right. Right. Good points. All great points. And thank you for taking the time to answer these questions. We're at 5:05. You have lots of effusive comments there in the chat box. I think there's lots of fan following there for each of your responses. You've all been absolutely wonderful panelists. Thanks for speaking from the heart. I know that we don't have enough data as we speak right now. So some of this we had to come from a space of experience to be able to connect up the dots. But that is so typical of the times that we exist in, where everything's not clear. We still have to be able to navigate through that fog to be able to start connecting up the dots and seeing things more clearly. So thank you, Gauri, for fabulous contributions to this panel. Namita, it is a delight to have your perspective. You definitely bring in a fresh perspective to everything. So thank you for being here with us. Kaushik, thank you for for making your debut. For finally being here at a session organized with the Ellen Nodi Roundtable. Thank you for that. And thank you for your active participation. Lovely comments for you. Lots of people calling out saying what a meaningful discussion, what a meaningful dialogue. We're so glad we spoke about this today. The idea was to open up open up this conversation and bring this opportunity to the focus of many people, so that we're using these times to be able to take some of these agendas forward and not putting them into the cold storage because we're in the middle of a crisis. Thank you, Aman, for your very effusive sharing and very insightful sharing. Thank you very much. I would not have expected anything less than that. So thank you. I know you have a lot of work at ground level to come in from such a space of conviction to respond to these questions. So thank you so much for that. Prince had to let off, but thank you to Prince in absentia. You're a wonderful audience. Thank you for coming back each time to our panels. The next one is around how can you keep up with the energies around your D&I agenda. Join us on the 29th of May, and we look forward to another very interesting panel discussion. The last one is on 3rd June. It's called The Conspiracy of Silence, and we're going to try and explore the challenges that women have been experiencing around domestic violence during this lockdown. So join in on that one as well. It's important for us to share our perspective, to try and figure what's going on, to try and generate some ideas, solutions. We have people who run helplines who are going to be on that call. So we do spread the word. We absolutely want the men on that webinar. So I'm going to urge all the men to please come in on board, especially when we talk about domestic violence. And the next one on the 29th of May, when we talk about how do we keep the environment of inclusion alive as we try and reconstruct, recover, and build back our workplaces. So thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a lovely evening, and be safe, everybody.
Thank you.